This is awesome stuff, everybody. So excited to be here with you. Let's take a look at our feature match here for round number 10. It's our tournament co-leaders, Márcio Carvalho and Seth Manfield, both on 8 and 1. The winner is playing for top 8 in standard because remember, 10 is our magic number of wins. If you get that before the final round, you're into the top 8, so putting themselves in excellent position here. Márcio, 2-time runner-up at the World Championship. Seth Manfield, your 2015 World Champion, Hall of Famer, 2-time Pro Tour winner, won a Mythic Championship as well. Those are the players. Awesome matchup. Monty, talk to me about the decks.
Well, this is the last round of Dustmorn Draft here. And I'm really excited because if you are a fan of creature strategies and beatdown, you have to keep an eye on this match between two of the best to ever play the archetypes. Marcio, Boros aggro, incredible curve, combat tricks, removal, one of those signpost uncommons in Midnight Mayhem. Deck looks great. Marcio, one of the best aggressive players of all time. Other side of the board, Seth Manfield. What is he playing? Boros, curve, combat tricks, removal.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Seth, one of the best aggressive players of all time. Getting to watch a Boros aggro, one of the best archetypes in this format, mirror match between two of the best to ever play a combat trick in the game of Magic the Gathering is such a delight.
Oh, this is awesome. Monty, though, I'm going to put it to you. Who's going to be our tournament leader after this match?
I gotta go with Marcio. I don't know.
Sweet.
I feel it. He's on a rampage.
All right, let's find out what happens. It's time for the final round of draft here at World Championship 30. I'm going to send it on over to the booth. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Welcome back to the booth here. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. And as I mentioned, you know, one of the features of Limited is that it is so heavily based on creature combat, and it doesn't get any more creature combat-y than these two archetypes. The same one facing off against each other, red, white, Boros, in the hands of both of our players. And we've got some experts at these type of decks. Márcio Carvalho versus Seth Manfield. You know, we mentioned it with John Emmanuel Duprat before. And by the way, you're seeing a theme here. Some of the best players in the world are the best Limited players in the world too. Seth Manfield is an absolute beast at Limited, and Márcio Carvalho has made a good chunk of his career on it as well.
I mean, Marcio has an argument to be maybe top 3, top 5 Limited player of all time.
Yeah.
That's just Limited Magic is his bread and butter. He loves to be aggressive as well, even in Limited. He also chooses aggressive constructed decks. So this is a clash of the titans here, and they're both playing the exact same archetype. One note, though. Marcio was passing to Simon Nielsen, who was passing to Seth Manfield. So theoretically speaking, Marcio should have a slightly stronger deck here because he was the one passing to Seth.
Right. That's if they were right next to each other, it's a really big advantage. Right. But even one person apart's pretty strong. There's a Reverent Gremlin hitting the battlefield turn 2 here for Manfield. Carvalho follows up with fear of surveillance, but it's not going to do much here. And a Hardened Escort turn 3. So 2-drop and a 3-drop for Manfield. Can Marcio meet that same pace?
And look, Seth, if you're Marcio, you have to feel pretty bad about this. Seth chose not to discard off the Irreverent Gremlin trigger just because he likes the land, the machete, and the bargain here.
He's got the goods.
Now, Trapped in the Screen was a pretty big draw here from Marcio, allowing him to deal with the Escort here.
He also topped off of the surveillance from, off of the surveil.
So it must be a land or a removal spell. I can't imagine keeping anything else based on the complexion of Marcio's hand here.
Marcio has Norin, Swift Survivalist in his hand. There's some interesting things you can do with that card. Generally, kind of turn it sideways,
right.
But
one cool thing about the interaction between Conductive Machete and the Reverent Gremlin is that the manifest creature actually comes into play as a 2/2, so you do get the Irreverent Gremlin trigger here, even though you would think it would be a 4/3 when it comes into play. And then we have an interesting choice. Do you throw away that turn inside out for potentially another creature, or do you just keep it? Oh, and that should ring alarm bells for Márcio Carvalho. Seth with 4 lands in play and binning Fear of Immobility into the grave. So you know that's going to be a relevant creature that's face down on Seth Manfield's side.
And Marcio will have noticed that for sure. There's land number 4 for Marcio, so that must have been what he kept on top.
I wonder if Marcio will try to bluff damage here with Fear of Surveillance. He's kind of behind here. You know that's a valuable creature. And Marcio does have a couple of turn inside outs in his deck, right? Okay.
He's not, but he is going to continue his curve.
Right.
He plays Vicious Clown. He even gets a trigger off of Norn, but nothing to do with it. Passes the turn back. No attacks from Carvalho. He does not like that.
Right. Now remember, Norn can't block.
That's right. Land number 5 now for Manfield.
Yeah, and this is going to be
What
really,
is
really
under
tough
that
here.
manifest?
Right. And the thing is, Seth can just use Betrayer's Bargain to kill the clown, and you just get a pretty clean attack with both creatures. And it looks like Seth is actually happy if Marcio chooses to double block the Irreverent Gremlin with both creatures, because then all you need to do is cast Turn Inside Out on the Gremlin, and that's a 2-for-1.
And it'll take out both of them. And Marcio Carvalho, he's wise to that, and it looks like taking it.
Just racing.
Go.
Really curious what that face down card is on Seth Manfield's side.
That's what Manfield has access to here. He can Betrayer's Bargain and turn inside out. He also could potentially transform whatever that thing is.
Yeah, so we get a double trigger here from the Vicious Clown.
Off of the Unsettling Twins. The Clown gets huge. It looks like it's going to have a hard time racing at this point, but it is a lot of damage. 10 coming across.
Yeah, Seth does have access to the Betrayer's Bargain. Could just get the Clown off the battlefield just so you don't take 6 damage here. But the Unsettling Twins, I think, is going to be a pretty key card here, especially in this matchup where there's just a bunch of 2-mana 2/2s going back and forth. Marcio Carvalho has 2 copies of this card, and I think it's very important here.
Little subtlety there, though. Did you see that Seth left the plains untapped? We show that he has turn inside out. It was unlikely to be relevant in that situation, but maybe just a subtle signal.
Representing jump scare over.
Yeah, or
turn
just
inside out?
I don't care about my red mana, and therefore
right.
you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Subtle.
leaving up the white also because Seth also has jump scare. So leaving up the white could be like, hey, I'm keeping up jump scare, but in reality he actually has turn inside out.
Right. Carvalho is going to double block, it looks like, with the Unsettling Twins, both of them.
And it looks like this is just going to probably be a turn inside out. You get to trade the Gremlin here for both creatures and still get a manifest token. Wait, what is this?
This is going to transform. Oh, it's a Ripken Razorkin in. Is
Oh,
that enough
for
for
lethal.
lethal? Wow, picks up
Wow.
the win. And Marcio Carvalho, it's these little tiny things. Sometimes they go unnoticed or they don't matter, and sometimes they actually do. Maybe Marcio said, actually, I don't think he's going to turn inside out
10.
here. Yeah, he doesn't have that many
Right?
options.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's be realistic. But all right, so game number 1, a quick one, as they tend to be in this matchup, goes to Seth Manfield. Now, to set the stage on a bigger picture here, if you take a look at our players' records, they're both 8-1 and they're playing for this pod. But Paul, if whoever picks up the win is 9-1, you only need to get to 10 wins to secure top 8 at the World Championship, as in next round. Their standard round, they could just win that and be like, see you guys later.
So that means they have 3 win-ins.
They could lose that one and do it next, and then they could lose that one and then do it again.
It's a good place to be. Good place to be.
It is a, this field is bigger than we've had for World Championships in the past, but it's much smaller than Pro Tours, and that changes things dramatically for the records that you need.
Seth's hand, by the way, is absolutely absurd, and Marcio only has mountains. Look at Seth's hand. Cheerleader into hover ship.
Unidentified hover
He's
ship.
got Glimmer Seeker too. You can crew the hover ship.
No.
And the Glimmer Seeker stays tapped, and you get a Glimmer out of this deal as well.
This is perfect.
This is everything you want. The survival cards plus vehicles. You don't see it that often. There's only a couple of rare vehicles in the entire set, but that is a match made in heaven here. And Seth with just the perfect start. Meanwhile, Marcio stumbling, no 2-drop, just a Vicious Clown.
He has
and only
Betrayer's
red
Bargain
mana.
here, though, right?
He does.
Yeah, see, this is the
Yeah.
tough part, because he'd actually rather kill the hover ship, but he's going to take out the Glimmer Seeker.
Needs a planes.
Plains.
He's got an exercise which you can use on the hover ship. Found the planes.
Oh, he did find the planes
Has
off
a
the
lot
top.
of removal actually too, so probably wants to get that hover ship off the battlefield. Then you can manifest a token as well, or you can maybe spend more mana and just try to get in for 3 here with the Midnight Mayhem.
That's what he's going to do.
Okay.
He's going to get in while the getting is good. Remember, these are going to also swing the life total back in his favor, because at least temporarily they'll have lifelink.
Yeah. And if Marcio doesn't draw a cheap creature, another plains wouldn't be the worst draw because he could double spell and use, for example, Seize from Slumber plus Exercise to kind of turn things around. But now he just got an army of 1/1s, which really don't do that much, given that Seth's probably going to add to his board.
And remember, that clown that you see over on Seth's side has been exiled. It's not on the battlefield. Speaking of clowns, the clown show continues. The vicious clown comes down, jumps in the hover ship. And it's another 4 damage coming across. So Carvalho, with that plains, has given himself a chance, but he is still under some very nice pressure.
Keeping one back.
Yeah, just for clown blocks.
Just to block the clown. I wonder if he drew something like a turn inside out or something, just to maybe perhaps even trade with the clown, or just try to mitigate the damage that he takes.
I mean, the clown can hit for 6, right? All of a sudden.
Yep, and he found a Ragged Playmate, so I imagine this turn is going to be Playmate plus something, and I think he's just deciding, do I keep up the Seize from Slumber? Do I go Exercise? He can cast any 3 of those cards if he wants, so it's going to be pretty big here. Noting that if Marcio passes, it's pretty unlikely for Seth to actually crew up the hover ship, so yeah, just going for the Exercise here and making sure that he gets the Manifest here instead. Just one small note that is, if this was going to be his plan, might be better to start with Exercise, just in case maybe you manifest something that you might want to flip over. But hey, Marcio, look at the board now. Marcio is the one with more permanents in play.
Yeah,
now Seth is the one that's stuck on 3 lands and is only able to add one permanent to the board each turn. And Marcio's got a hand with 2 removal spells here too.
That plains was
huge.
Massive. He needed that, and he needed it then.
Yeah, and drawing a 2-drop here was also great because you can go 2-drop plus use the Exercise there on the hover ship.
The interesting question is, if the pendulum has swung back towards Marcio, is he able to apply pressure? Because look at Seth's hand. Like, if he can find a couple of lands, all of those things will come onto the battlefield, and theoretically that would put him back ahead.
Right. Now Seth is just weighing kind of his options, thinking, am I still supposed to be aggressive here, or do I need to start keeping some creatures back? If so, how many? Cheerleader might want to get in there, right, just because it's a flyer. And then, getting really aggressive.
Still staying aggressive.
And now Marcio's going, is it time to race?
Right.
You have it.
Once again, by the way, turn inside out is front and center. Seth Manfield with that very ominous mountain sitting there and a needed double block on a clown.
Right, and this is an attack for 6. If he takes this, he goes down to 7.
He does have Seize from Slumber to take down the Acrobat at some point.
Right, but if he uses that, Seth does have the turn inside out to turn that into a Manifest token.
Yeah.
Now, with Trapped in the Screen, you can actually use that as protection.
Yeah, and but I'm looking at Marcio's board, and if you're facing down a Manifest on the ground, fine. If you're facing down a 2/2 flyer, that's a problem.
Yep, absolutely.
So he's actually going to take the more conservative route here, Marcio. He's just going to chump block with a Gremlin. Take 2 in the air, prevent the 4. This plays around turn inside out, and it also could potentially strand that mana for Seth. Normally, 1 mana stranded is like, thumbs up, I did it.
Yeah.
In this case, that's a third of his total mana.
Yeah.
He may just want to also try to use it to upgrade his Fear of Surveillance.
And look at this, attacking with both 2/2s. If Seth chooses to block and go turn inside out, Marcio can get the clean 2-for-1 here by casting Seize from Slumber in response to the turn inside out to get, so that Seth doesn't get the Manifest token here. And Seth knows this.
He does.
He could have an instant speed removal spell here, and if he does, I am in some trouble here. Maybe you just
he
go
may
for the
just
trade.
say, "Is that okay?"
Right. And
yeah.
yep.
See, this is where
There's levels to this.
There's levels to this, and these guys are at the absolute top level.
There's a ticket booth here, and if Marcio's going to run out that Seize from Slumber, you definitely just want to wait. Seth is stuck on lands, so just wait for him to make the attack before you go for the Seize from Slumber. Might want to just cast it anyways, just because next turn you have Trapped in the Screen as well as a follow-up, and once you hit land number 6, you're also kind of interested in unlocking Tunnel of Hate.
Right. There's also the white mana scenario here for Carvalho. If he draws, he wants to deploy these cards, and he's only able to cast 1 white card per turn currently with the 1 plains.
Yeah, if the game kind of goes long, you're kind of like Seth's side just because he's got
His hand's
6
back.
spells in hand. But
Yeah.
the lack of land here really hurting Seth.
Grand entryway now for Manfield. As he's going to pick up the Glimmer. Elegant Rotunda's going to have to hang.
Weighing out his options here. How do I want to attack? Because Marcio is pretty happy, I think. At this point, he might be happy just trading the Manifest and the token for the Clown if Seth passes priority, right? There's a possibility.
Clown did trigger this turn. In they come.
Marcio's like, ah, that turn inside out. What do I do? Do I chump again?
It's
Do I
so
double
funny because
block?
it's just loomed over this game the whole time.
Right.
Marcio does not know that Seth has it, and Seth immediately passes priority back.
Okay, he's making him do it now.
And now Seth gets to respond.
It's like, is that a destroy or exile effect? And Seth probably just has to use his mana
I mean,
here.
just feels like he can't just sit on it, right? Like
Right.
there's just too big of a chance that we get to the end of the game and he's never even cast it.
Right. But at the same time, does he want to just save that just to use it on the cheerleader for a kill?
Yeah,
No,
he would prefer, but like he's got 3 red cards
Right.
in hand.
But he's on the back foot now just because he's been installed on lands here.
Definitely. But that was a good transaction for him.
Right. But I think Marcio also just
He had to take his
didn't want to lose
medicine.
2 creatures.
Right.
Yeah.
It was not a disaster for Marcio.
Right. Oh, that was a great draw.
What did he find?
He found a piggy bank, so now he can go piggy
Wow.
bank plus trapped in the screen.
Just perfect.
Anytime you can double spell, it just allows him to just continue building the board, whereas Seth, again, just stuck on 1 play per turn here. All right, we're getting really aggressive here now for Marcio.
Marcio's ready to rumble. There's only a 1/1 back here for Manfield. He's at 13 life. Marcio's down a game here, and he's trying to close this one out before Seth can find the mana to deploy all of his spells. Basically, he's like, I hope you lose this game with 3 cards in your hand.
Yeah, Seth is down to 8. 4 attackers here. Seth just has 1 blocker. The cheerleader probably can't even attack at this point.
Right.
But if Marcio draws land number 6, all of a sudden Tunnel of Hate is online.
And that's a major problem. Yeah, Hardened Escort, I think it's just too late. Another missed land drop here from Manfield. This is the difference between 3 lands and 5 lands in a matchup like this. Like, Marcio's been able to deploy everything.
2 red. Hand that feeds, and he's got Delirium.
Does he have Delirium as well?
does.
Oh, yeah, that should do it then, right? Like 2-turn clock, something like that?
Well, if you at least attack with the hand that feeds, it at least trades with the Hardened Escort.
Right.
But the thing is, the other creatures don't have great attacks just because
Yeah,
there's a
you're
2/4
right.
in play. And Seth is still at 8 here.
I mean, he could get really aggressive.
Just attack with everything.
He
If that
could.
happens, a 2/4 goes in front of the piggy bank, and then the cheerleader goes in front of the gremlin, and then you would take 6 damage and go down to 2.
Down to 2.
But
so-
with only 2 creatures in play. And Seth would keep both of his creatures.
Yeah, so that's not good. Unless he has other ways to push through damage, but he doesn't have them in his hand.
Marcio did just flip up the hand that feeds, which is pretty aggressive. It's just like, all right, I guess you're kind of, are you committed to attacking here? Oh, and
He
Marcio
is going for the all-in attack. Wow, wow, wow.
It's like, hey, if you want to go for the double block here, you're going to take 6.
Right, and you know, Seth can't play around anything, right? He has no options here, so Marcio knows exactly how Seth will block because Seth can't get cute here.
Yeah, I feel like the 2/4 on the piggy bank makes a lot of sense.
Maximize how much damage you're preventing. Take the biggest thing that you can off the battlefield.
However, that does give Marcio a treasure token, which gives
Yeah.
him the 6 mana for Tunnel of Hate next turn, right? Which
You're right.
Which can be a pretty big problem as well, especially if Hand That Feed survives. A 4/2 double striking menace creature
Forget it.
is really tough to deal with.
Yeah, exactly, Seth. You saw that. He did the quick head shake there
Yep.
because this is not
Nothing
fun
is
either way.
good.
Because if he does do the normal blocks to prevent things as they stand, he leaves himself open to that.
Oh, and look at this, taking 7.
See? He's
Going
Seth,
to
man,
1.
So good.
Doesn't want to give the thing, but now, look, you're still dealing with a delirium creature, 2 other creatures
Right.
at 1 life.
He's effectively needs 2 creatures or a removal spell plus a creature to stabilize.
And he had a Betrayer's Bargain. He found a mountain.
did
That
find
was
a
huge.
mountain.
Now he can go Gremlin plus Betrayer's Bargain. That is huge.
That is massive.
You can sack the grand entryway here
Right.
to deal with whichever creature gets double strike, probably.
Right. And the way that this game has gone, well, and it does require a land also from Carvalho here, right?
Right.
But the way that this game has gone, Marcio is like not going to be able to get cute here.
And now Marcio's
Surgical Suite and a quick check of the graveyard probably will signal to Seth that that's something that he may have found.
But Marcio needs. Is he just attacking with?
Yes.
Yeah. Because the thing is, Seth has 3 cards in hand.
Right.
And he played a 2-drop when he should be playing more expensive cards.
Right.
You have to think he has something.
Definitely. It looks like it's just going to be the double block here.
Okay. And then I think Marcio probably just passes.
Yep, just
Goes
take
the
out
2/4 because
take out
the
your
2/4
escort.
is just such a great blocker here. There's a lot less stress now because at least all the other creatures trade evenly at this point.
But there's
right?
less stress for Seth too, right? Like the menace creature got off
Well,
the
he gets it
battlefield.
back. He gets it back.
He didn't know that.
Oh, and look at this ragged Playmate, giving you an unblockable creature next turn. So Seth probably
He
just
has
has
to
to
kill
use the
that.
bargain on the Playmate.
He does. Because you can't wait and get cute and kill the thing that the Playmate targets, because then it's still sitting there for the next thing.
Right. Yeah. I guess if
I mean, you could really gamble if you want, but we're
Right. Marcio's like, you want to kill my Playmate, right? Yeah. Makes sense. And Marcio just knew that was probably a Betrayer's Bargain. So
this is such a sweet game.
9-1. Can Seth turn this around? Land irrelevant here. Seth can play a creature and then probably rummage away that land at this point just because he probably wants to find either combat tricks or more interaction here. And Marcio just thinking, I am so close. So close. A land gives me double strike. But even without the land, you can still give the piggy bank. Turning the piggy bank into a 4/3 is a pretty big game. So because of that, Seth might want to just run out the Vicious Clown, because if you run out the Vicious Clown, you can put the 2/3 and the 2/2 together to block the 4/3 on the so that the piggy bank as a 4/3 won't be able to get a profitable attack. So Vicious Clown makes a lot of sense here.
There's a clown. There is a trigger.
Rummage to try to find a turn inside out, maybe. I know Seth has 2 copies of that card in his deck.
We've seen one this game, but there's another one floating. Does he want to get rid of that mountain? No.
Oh.
Ticket booth. He keeps the plane, so there must be relevant 2-mana plays that he has in mind as well that
Maybe
he could
wants
have ripped.
to, maybe just wants to find a 2-drop, keeps the land, find a 2-drop, and just play it this turn.
What did he find?
Does he have a Dragonfire or something?
Didn't have one of those that I saw when I looked
But
at the
play
list.
the land,
Oh,
though.
this is sweet though. We
Yeah.
we don't know either.
Right.
Like this now we have to put
Oh,
it.
but look at this draw.
Seized from slumber.
Seized from slumber.
Is that enough?
It's not, because Seth still has 2 blockers.
2 extra. Yeah, 1 extra creature.
Yeah, so oof.
So does he just
You
start
can pass.
unlocking rooms here? +1/+1 counters
Well, do you
on
get it-
attackers. Do they do anything?
Right.
No, this is what you said because of the clown.
You don't really get a great attack here. I think the play might be to just pass, cast Seize from Slumber, end of turn or what have you, and then untap and then unlock a room.
Yeah, he could also find land number 6 to unlock the tunnel.
Because the clown's in play, you just you don't have a great profitable attack. You make a 3/3 double block. You make a 4/3 on the piggy bank double block.
And he has to be wondering, what the heck do you have in your hand, Seth? Because he discarded a spell and played a land for the turn.
He could perhaps attack with okay.
Oh, that's aggressive.
Well, he does get the treasure here if the block happens. You can
Makes the
still
double.
cast Seize from Slumber if Seth chooses to be aggressive enough.
That's right. If something weird happens, and then it also guarantees the tunnel next
right.
turn. Okay. And you do get the clown off the battlefield this way.
Right.
Okay, sure.
So that's the thing. It's kind of a forced double block here.
Right.
Right. And then I think Marcio is pretty interested in getting the Ooh.
He killed a gremlin.
Gremlin, okay. It's like, if this game goes longer, this gremlin is the more problematic creature.
Because any lands drawn off the top
Right.
could just get rummaged away.
Also, maybe this gives Seth a little more incentive to play a creature and attack with the Vicious Clown because it gets pumped, and then you have the Cease from Slumber
Wow.
to get it off.
Fear of Abduction and Trapped in the Screen in his hand is his hand. I don't know which one he drew when, but that's his hand right now.
Wow.
So he's going to play Trapped
So
in the
now
Screen.
no creatures. No creatures in play here for Marcio.
And he gets to start turning them sideways. That is only 4, but it's going to go really
I
quickly.
feel like you got to just kill the clown here. Probably just minimize the damage you take.
Just burn the treasure.
Just use your mana, right?
It does feel like that.
Oh, man. And Seth has a Fear of Abduction?
Yes.
Okay. Does he have a haste creature? A percussionist?
He has one in his list. No, he
No,
doesn't. He's going to
nothing.
unlock Tunnel of Hate
wow.
and do nothing. He actually has a percussionist he's not playing.
It's in his sideboard. I'm really curious about that.
I've never seen that.
All right.
He has to have a
He
reason.
might be good in this matchup, though. He might have boarded it in.
That's true. This is game 2. Down to 5 goes Márcio Carvalho. Seth Manfield hanging on
Is he
at
upgrading?
1 life.
Are we upgrading to a 5/5 here?
Yeah, looks like
I
it.
mean, it puts him dead next turn.
It
Marcio
does.
has to find a removal spell.
It's lethal. Go.
All right.
This
Marcio.
has to be a win right now for Marcio. Or blocker. It was a
That's
clown.
not it. That is not it.
Seth
Wow.
Manfield squeaks out a win to improve to 9-1, and he is 1 win away from top 8 now.
That is incredible. What a game, back and forth. And that's just pure mastery in play from both sides. Because oftentimes when you see a Boros mirror, you're just thinking, all right, I attack you, you attack me, let's see who dies. But both players playing around all the mana that they have up, all the different combat tricks, just thinking about every single possible out. And Seth eventually, because at different points in that game, different players were ahead.
Right.
Seth started out aggressive,
Totally.
got stuck on lands. Then Marcio made a comeback, and then Seth did everything he could to survive, and then finally found the answers to come back in that game.
Yeah,
what,
it was
what
awesome.
an incredible game.
Yeah, we got that beautiful last stretch where it was very back and forth, a top deck here or there. Big decision points, especially with Marcio. That big all-in attack to get him down to 1 just couldn't quite get over the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that was great stuff. All right, we're going to go right into our next match here. This is Javier Domínguez versus Yoshihiko Ikawa. Javier still in the hunt for Player of the Year, potentially. And Ikawa, of course, a PG champ for this season. So let's get into the action.
What an incredible season it's been here for Javier Domínguez. Kind of almost a little bit slightly overshadowed by his teammate Simon Nielsen, who's just been absolutely crushing it for the past 2 years. But Javier Domínguez also in the mix. Just here's the thing with Javier. It's like, yeah, 5-2 day 1, 2-1 the draft. A few rounds later, oh yeah, another top 8.
Like you do. All right, there's a Twitchy doll, but it's going to get taken out immediately. You can see we're playing perhaps a little bit quicker. That's also going to be, how many House Cartographer triggers are we going to see this weekend, Paul? It's more than I've ever seen.
I must be. maybe I should start taking this card higher because
maybe it's
we've
just
seen a lot
awesome.
more triggers here. That's 2 triggers now.
What is going on here?
Oh,
Wow, I like this
I like
deck from
Javier's deck.
Javier, yeah. He's going to play his land and pass.
I like
Air
Ikawa's
Trap?
deck less. Yeah,
Bear?
I like his deck
another
a lot
thing you don't
less.
see on the battlefield that often. That was get out to counter.
This
Oh
is
boy,
3 Cartographer triggers. Oh my gosh.
man! Ikawa started off with Twitchy doll,
And it was all downhill.
and
from
now it's been a
there.
little bit of a
What is that?
downgrade.
Is that Nico?
Nico, that's Nico.
Nico?
Light of Hope.
Wow. That
I have
card is
not seen that
amazing.
variant, but I've seen that card, and
I
it
have.
is unreal.
Very, very strong.
2 shards, and Javier can start copying things.
Or just sack them to scry and draw a card.
Right.
So just very,
When
very
that's
good.
your backup plan, you're doing really, really good.
Yeah, let's just say Javier's not going to run out of things to do with his mana for the rest of the game.
That
right?
was weight room there, and
just too
speaking
much.
of the rest of the game,
I mean, I would have scooped after the second Cartographer
Yeah.
trigger, honestly.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that was enough.
wow, what a deck, though, from Javier.
That was really nice.
Simic deck splashing for Nico. Ikawa at least, we need to do like a Swarm Weaver check or something. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, there has to be. Javier Domínguez is 7-2 coming into this round. Yoshihiko is 6-3.
Ooh, okay, there's some rares. Twitching down the graveyard, and that was an unstoppable slasher in Ikawa's hand. That card's phenomenal.
Why is the doll in the graveyard?
He surveilled it into the yard.
Why?
Delirium will be my...
Hey, you get 2 Deliriums, but come on. You know what's better? Cast it. Make them use a removal spell, because if they don't, you just win, and then you still get the Delirium.
I don't know everything in Ikawa's hand, okay?
No, it's probably to find lands, right?
Right.
Most of the time, if you're willing to put a spell that good in the yard that you could actually cast, it's like, I'm desperate to find lands. Wow, okay, now the heavy hitters are coming out for Ikawa.
Yeah. Okay, Meat Locker. Now remember, that counts as a counter. So if Javier actually has a removal spell, it will actually get rid of the slasher.
Oh, right. It doesn't care what kind of... It's not only...
I believe so.
Well, even then, that's the kind of counters it gets, so definitely...
This is a nice little 2-3-4 here. Yep,
and
it does kill it.
The answer. It was an unwilling vessel from the hand. That's 3 power either way, but it means it's not coming back, right?
Yeah, but still taking 7 here, unless...
But it's in the... Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's one of my favorites, Fear of Isolation.
I love Fear of Isolation. Oh, man, Ikawa with a great curve here, though. If you can play another creature here, too, just for extra...
and he
a 4-power creature. This is double lethal. You need to deal with both of the 4-power creatures, or you're just dead.
Wow, these are some very lopsided games. Even Nico's not going to get Javier Domínguez out of this, right?
No way. There's a Meat Locker here that taps one of the things down, and then if you have a 2-mana creature to follow it up, then I guess you're not dead here.
Javier's trying to figure out if there's any way out. It would be unlikely. There's the Unwilling Vessel.
You can go Unwilling Vessel into Zealot, it looks like.
Into Overgrown Zealot?
Yeah, but it looks like he's just going to go Zealot Meat Locker, maybe. Tap down the Cultist, maybe. Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to gain life regardless.
And it's 4 damage either way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so he's not actually... Yeah, he's actually just going to go for the 2, soak up 3, trade off, take 4.
Now, okay. Maybe it could stabilize here now. We know he still has Meat Locker in hand. Stick Twister, are we at Delirium?
Stick Twister, no Delirium. By the way, there's another, to get the doll in there, another reason.
Yep.
But again, not quite a Delirium yet.
All right, so probably Centipede into Meat Locker here on the Cautious Survivor would be my guess. Delirium check here for Javier. Looks like he has 3 types, enchantment, creature, and sorcery. I see a red card in Javier's hand. Is that a Charred Foyer? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Great.
Depending on what country you live in.
Oh, that's fair. Well,
Foyer plays?
We're in the U.S. So
Foyer plays in the U.S.
Foyer.
Yeah, we don't.
Okay, so this is some stabilization, but Javier's at 3. And if Ikawa can get Delirium going with that Stick Twister,
then I don't see how Javier can really come back without a removal spell at that point.
Right, like a Say Its Name or a Found Footage.
No good attacks here.
No attack, okay. And we know Javier's late game seems incredible.
It does, and he seems to be well set up for it. Oh, and there's a Monstrous Emergence to kill the Stick Twister before it gets rolling.
It's happening. He's stabilizing. Did you say that he had a Nico in his hand?
I don't know if he has it in his hand. It does look like it, though, actually. No.
Oh. That's a lot of value here. Ikawa does not have much more time here to try
and that's another land off the top. So now, all of a sudden, Javier is effectively drawing 2 cards a turn.
Right. Hit a land here, too. 7 mana.
What does he have, Altenac or something?
Valgavoss Onslaught?
Oh, it is Valgavoss Onslaught! Oh, that's how you come back.
There you go.
Oh, my... This is fantastic.
My.
Javier Domínguez just playing the deck that Paul plays every day on Arena.
You gotta love
Look at this thing.
I'm assuming he has Delirium at this point, too, right? You just manifested 4 times.
Yeah.
Or 3 times.
And he was already 3/4 of the way there before.
Right. It's got Vigilance. Do you want to trade with the dog and give Ikawa a Surveil, though? That's kind of what he's weighing out
I think the answer is no.
Right.
Because Ikawa has bricked on his last 3 draw steps and make it 4. That's what you want him to do.
That's a Bookworm. Jeez. At this point, I just unless Ikawa has some kind of Well, we saw it once already. Meat Hook Massacre #2.
Right, that type of
Right?
thing. A flyer,
A black-green flyer.
a
yeah.
black-green flyer, so a demon,
A chandelier, maybe.
chandelier, or a demon of some sort.
Javier's attacking now, so that's always a terrible sign here.
Only for 10.
Just 10. 2-turn clock.
And there's the bookworm.
And
the Nico.
Just
Okay.
everything.
Wow, so this needs to
Just
be like
everything.
now.
What is that? An insidious fungus flipped it up to draw the card off the bookworm
Seriously, and he takes
Oh
down
my
the match.
gosh.
That's 8-2 for Javier Domínguez.
That was a sweet deck.
That was
Wow.
a really nice comeback, too, from Javier, who found himself at just 3 life and scrambling to get his mana underneath him. But once he did, it all came falling apart there for Ikawa. So Javier Domínguez picks up the win. 2-0. That's our kind of deck right there. That's a good one to end on.
Absolutely. That's what I want to draft every time.
Definitely.
You just take the centipedes and figure everything
Yeah.
else out. And that's exactly what Javier did. Blue-green base deck, splash Nico. The foyer, we don't know if it was in the main or the sideboard, but it is a black-green. You know, he was playing against a black-green deck, so probably boarded that in. That deck looked absolutely incredible. You are not going to beat that deck in the late game.
No, no way. And it's all about the centipede. If you want to know how to draft this format, start with a centipede and figure it out from there. That's going to do it for us in the booth. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be setting up standard at the news desk. Don't go anywhere.